Bobbie, with no further ado, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? We like to say there's 3 bullpen questions. How'd you get here? What are you working on? And how can we help you? But let's start on the how'd you get here. I heard a little bit about your work history before, but tell everybody.
Well, I got here because I'm born and raised here. So native Minnesotan. Minnesota's a pretty amazing place to be, particularly when we're in the healthcare sector. I say that because I look at the opportunities that I've had in my own career. And I decided early on that healthcare was the place that interested me most, because at the end of the day, I wanted to be able to make a difference for mankind, for all of us in the room. Because when we think about patients at one point or time and another, each one of us is a patient. Our families, our loved ones, all rely on healthcare. And I originally trained Kristen to be a healthcare administrator. So my first job in healthcare administration was as the president of Shriners Hospitals for Children. At that time, we had 19 orthopedic units and 3 burn units across the North American continent. It's changed a lot over the years, but it gave me an inside look, particularly for me, at orthopedics. So you'll hear me talk about lots of times having my subspecialty be in neuroscience, orthopedics, and spine. And that's where it originated out of. I moved on to there and stayed in healthcare administration and then was in private industry. And then from my most last, if you will, I call it gig, was with, for those of you from Minnesota, was with Allina Health System, running the second largest hospital in the state, known as Abbott Northwestern. From there, I got tapped on the shoulder to go to United Health Group. We call it, when you're on the provider side, because now I was moving to payer, we call it going to the dark side. And so, but an amazing experience, because all of a sudden I was doing what we consider today to be risk-based contracting and looking at data in a very different way and helping develop outcomes and premium pay for performance in that neuroscience, orthopedic, spine side. Learned quickly how different it was to truly be in a for-profit with quarterly earnings and stockholders, shareholders to answer to. And then Medtronic reached out to me because Bill Hawkins had this image of what he wanted to do with a vision for looking at a continuum of care with data and wrapping products in it across that continuum and using data globally in order to get product into market sooner, because we know what happens on the regulatory side, as well as the impact on pulling that through for healthcare economics. So I got to do that and did it around the world, and it was great fun and met a lot of interesting people. And then I went into the private equity side, working for a firm here in Minnesota that was founded by the former treasurer of General Mills, a woman by the name of Leslie Fracon. They're nearing their 20th year at LFE Capital. She was centered 20 years ago on health and well-being. And she was also looking for women entrepreneurs, which it took a little longer, unfortunately, for that to percolate up, but it's definitely happening more so now. And then 3 years ago, was asked to take a look at Medical Alley. So yeah, I joined Medical Alley, it'll be 3 years ago in September. And it's been great fun, because when you talk about the ecosystem that we represent, I have truly had the opportunity to have leadership positions in payer, in provider, in med tech, in combo products, in what's happening in financing. And so when I sit at a table and I listen to a company or I listen to finance, I know or I understand the point of view, and I've had to do those challenges within those different sectors, which I think gives me a whole different reference point from which to listen and help make decisions.
I've learned more about you. I've been in this market. I know of you, but talking to you, and I hope all of you are doing this with each other and learning about your backgrounds. It's amazing. It gives me a lot of confidence to know you've sat in all the different seats and now are leading our association moving forward into the future, bringing some big initiatives to Minnesota. So in the next 12 months, let's say it, what's your vision? What are you working on? I know there's a lot of things going on, but what's important?
We're having a lot of fun. Medical Alley's in its 40th year. Can you believe that? And the really cool part about it is we refreshed our direction. So new strat plan, new pillars, but the vision statement remained the same. So the vision of Erlbach and of Medtronic, Lieberman of 3M, now Solventum Health on the health side, and the government at that point in time was to be the epicenter of health, innovation, and care. And that vision remains relevant today. I would say more relevant. Look at the room today. Look at the work you're doing. We talk about innovation. It's innovation that's spurring what happens in terms of growth. It's what's spurring in terms of bringing forth what mankind needs in order to evolve. So that is where Medical Alley is. I was brought in to shake it up. You were sharing with me earlier that your background had been to go in and do turnarounds and do some really hard work and be very successful at it. And at Medical Alley, I'm having the opportunity to, by the order of the board, to shake things up. In other words, I don't want to mess up what's been around for 40 years. I want to set that stage for the next 10, 15 years for someone else to take over after, but to have it be continuing on. Medical Alley today is engaged in economic trade and development. We are innovating, elevating, and transforming. And when you think about the innovation side, it's startups. It's what's happening in this room today. We'll see up to 1,800 startups in a year. We are engaged with them from all levels. We're in the midst right now of working on what that looks like as we start to scale and grow a program that was incubated internally in 2018 and got slowed down because of 2020, 2021 pandemic. But that's what's happening on starts. If you think about elevating, it's our network. So today, the Medical Alley network sits on a platform of over 800 organizations of all shapes and sizes. So everything from a founder entrepreneur all the way through the companies you would expect to see. Name brands like Medtronic, Boston Scientific, Mayo Clinic, but some names you wouldn't expect to see, Ecolab, FedEx, players at the table who are looking at that continuum and engaged. When we talk about transforming, it's about health equity to us. And what we've been focused on is mental health. So we're looking at access, affordability, cost reduction. And of course, I call it the tapestry that weaves across all of that is policy. Because we're in the health sector, and you as entrepreneurs or investors know this, the impact piece around that are elements like FDA, CMS. If we're over in Europe, we've actually got new regulations. We used to think of Europe as the place we could go in, put a product in and see results sooner. It's actually slowed down because of new regulations and what's happening. So when we look at that, we're engaged in policy. We truly are considered the experts in the state of Minnesota. I can give a great example. PFAS was a bill hitting MedTech. Our team actually got the carve out for the state. We were in DC 2 weeks ago, and the legislators right now are using us as the, if you will, the platform to leverage because they see the exact same law going to be implemented federally. And at the federal level, we've been at the table on the life science bill. You've probably read about MedTech 3.0. Minnesota is one of those hubs. Unfortunately, we did not get funding to move ahead with the full project. But you know what? The work that is contained in that project on the accelerator side, it was happening anyways. It's happening at Medical Alley. It's what we do every day of the week. So we will continue to move forward and do that work. That's what we're doing at Medical Alley. And we invite you to be engaged.
Okay, so wonderful. I know there are so many, there are probably more initiatives than we can cover in a 5 to 10 minute slot here. We've heard about your authentic leadership path, and now you're leading us forward. We really want to know as a group how we can help you, though. Give us something actionable. I have my own ideas, what I'd like to see our out-of-towners do with Medical Alley. Why don't you tell them what you need?
Well, the first thing I'd remind you is that while we're Minnesota-based, so when you think of Medical Alley, we are headquartered here. That is the association's name, but we actually are global, and that's not something new to us. You know, I was with Governor Walz in Tokyo, I think it will be a year ago next month. And when we were at the embassy for the United States there working with women entrepreneurs, we had the Tokyo Chamber of Commerce there. Medical Alley's been engaged with the chamber there since 1984. And I went to Osaka and we had engagements there since 2006. We hold 30 memorandums of understanding. I give you that backdrop because the first ask would be when you think of bringing financing or exploring a startup, think Medical Alley. because we know Boston well. We know what's happening out on the West Coast. But when you look at the talent in terms of workforce, when you look at the resources for expertise, when you look at what's happening even in manufacturing and the ability to pull through, I'd say the biggest need is bringing more financing into the Midwest for the opportunities that exist here for entrepreneurs to flourish. And we many times are a flyover zone and forgotten that way. And so that's the first ask. The second ask is to remember that the world is getting smaller and smaller, and we really are a touch point for all of it. And some people think, well, that means we're overreaching. It's not our intention. It means we have relationships around the globe, and we can connect people. And I would ask you to not only bring connections, but then to leverage those connections. And my third thing would be I'd reverse it. And actually, this is something I say even before it's your mantra for Bullpen, but it would be, how can we help you? Because that's what we exist for.
Wonderful. So Bobbie's going to be here. I don't know if it's going to be the whole day, but I would encourage you to connect with her. She has a couple members from her team here too. Ask about how to get more involved in the Minneapolis, Minnesota Medical Alley ecosystem. Again, we see it as a gateway to the rest of the world. Bobbie and her team have been doing this. The association has been doing it for 40 years, and become a part of it. We love Medical Alley at Bullpen. Thank you so much, Bobbie.
Thank you.
Can we give her a little round of applause? Yes.